Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name's Deborah. Lovely to meet you. I'm just going to wait a second for people to roll in, and then we'll start. Should we do a little dance? Has anyone been just sitting in front of their computer all day and they need to shake it out before we sit here and talk about art? Hi, Nicole. Hello, everyone. Hi, Tisha. So once again, hi, my name is Deborah Lee Smith. I'm an actor and a producer and a mental health advocate. And we're going to be talking today about art and mental health and how they're all related. Again, I'll give a little background about myself and my organization, More Than You See, in about 30 seconds. But if anyone needs to dance it out, get all the jitterbugs out, if anyone's been sitting, and hi, Hells. Again, my name is Deborah Lee Smith. I'm an actor and a producer in Los Angeles and the founder of More Than You See. The organization you can find on Facebook and on Instagram. And just a little bit about myself, and then I'm going to go into a little bit about the organization as well as talk about art, because that is what we're here to talk about today, art and mental health. Hi, Madeline. And then I'm open to questions at any time. So if there's ever a question that you have about my experience with mental health, my experience with art or art therapy, or anything about living in Los Angeles as an actor and dealing with mental health issues, any of those things, just go ahead and put it in the comments and I will see it and I will answer it as soon as I can. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. Hi, everyone. So I was born and raised in LA, right here, beautiful Southern California. And I had a, pretty normal childhood, went to Berkeley for English Lit and Theater, moved to Australia, came back to LA, lots of very exciting things there. And about a year ago, I went through a really, really difficult time. There was a lot of reasons behind that. I had a relationship that ended after 10 years, and it was the thing that I thought was going to be my end-all, be-all relationship, and it ended, and it put me in a really dark, depressed state. And after that was a point where I felt like I didn't really have a purpose in my life. I didn't really know what I was living for anymore, and it was really a difficult time for me. And so during that time, I ended up starting to hike every day with my dog. And I decided one day, while listening to a podcast from, it was Michael Rosenbaum's podcast, and it's called Inside of You. It's a great podcast. And he was interviewing Zachary Levi, who is an actor. You've seen him in Chuck and Shazam. And he was talking about how right before Shazam, he went through a really difficult time. He was feeling suicidal. He also didn't know what his purpose was in life and all these things. And I really connected with what he said. I felt like it really spoke to me, and it was a light bulb moment for me, because I was like, man, this actor has his entire life together. He's got what I want as far as a career. And he was also feeling the same way that I was feeling. And for me, that really was a light bulb. It made me feel like I wasn't alone anymore. And from that experience, I ended up creating my organization, More Than You See, because I think that we all put on a mask. We all have, these internal feelings, these internal fears that we don't show the world, because it's, really difficult to be authentic sometimes in this world, especially because mental health is such a delicate subject for some people. And you know what? Screw that. Here's the thing. We all have, these dark sides of ourselves and these things that we have to struggle through. And I find that it's so important to have community so that we can all, work through these things together. So that is really why I created More Than You See. And we run a couple different things there. Basically, I've got some different stories that people share where they talk about their internal selves and their external selves and how those two things relate to each other. And then we also have, different ways that we try to build up the community. We've been running a More Than COVID-19 campaign right now because obviously, even though we're all quarantined in our houses, we obviously still have to deal with the same things. I've had some really wonderful and important vulnerable posts that people have posted there about living with recovering from an eating disorder and being quarantined, someone who is sober from alcohol and drugs, and having to deal with that and be quarantined. So over there on the page right now, it's really beautiful to see other people's experiences during this global pandemic that we all are experiencing together. Of course, I am never discounting the fact that we all are experiencing this together, but there's also the fact that, we all have our own issues that we're still struggling through, even in this pandemic. And it's about highlighting those things and making sure to, really give a voice to those things as well. Again, if you're just joining me, my name is Deborah Lee Smith. I'm an actor and a producer and a mental health advocate, and my organization, More Than You See, we're going to be talking about that today, as well as art and art therapy. So over on More Than You See's page for May, for Mental Health Month, May 4th, by the way, may the 4th be with you, everyone, Star Wars Day. So over on my mental health page, what I'm doing right now is actually a art show, a digital art show, because I think it's very important to highlight art because it is someone's personal expression. Hi, Emma. Thank you for your question. I will respond to that actually in 1 second. So over on my mental health page, More Than You See, I've been doing a digital art show, and I've asked people from around the world to submit art that expresses their own feelings about depression, anxiety, OCD, like anything that they are going through right now. And I am posting it on the More Than You See Instagram and on our website every day. I am posting at least one piece of art. A lot of days we have two or more, and I'm very excited because we've got lots of different submissions from all over the world. And if you have a piece of art that you would like to share with the community, please reach out to me. I would be absolutely blessed and honored to post that over on our site. So Emma asked a very good question. And she says that she has been, diagnosed with anxiety, social anxiety, depression. And so this right here, first of all, I'm just going to say I am not a licensed therapist. I'm not a therapist at all. I am just a person. I'm an actor and a producer. So these are completely my thoughts. I am a huge advocate for therapists. I have a therapist that I talk to every week, even during these socially distant times. If you are looking for a therapist or someone that has, and you don't have money for that, there's a lot of different resources out there. They're posted both on my site as well as on the Mighty site. Many different ways where you can find a therapist for whatever you can afford. So there is help. There is resources out there to help you no matter what state you're in and no matter, where you are as far as your resources are concerned. So because we're here to talk about art and art therapy, because of my mental health digital art show that we're running, I want to talk about why art is so important in mental health. I know that when I was a kid, I went to art therapy. That was actually the first kind of therapy that I ever went to. My parents got divorced when I was 5, and I started going to art therapy. And I remember drawing different pictures and then talking to my therapist about those pictures. And for me, that was very important because oftentimes the art that we share is completely a reflection of actually what is going on inside. Because sometimes we censor ourselves. And I find that art sort of lifts that censorship and that own, whatever you're feeling as far as, putting those judgments on yourself, art sort of lifts that judgment for yourself. So I strongly recommend that you start diving into art. And Emma, honestly, I think that could be something that could really, help you. Anyone out there, if you are looking for a way to start dealing with the things that you have just discovered about yourself, I would recommend that you start diving into art. Emma, if you actually go to our Instagram, and that's just instagram.com/more_than_UC, and I'm sure they'll put that in the comment box. I actually posted something today from someone who lives in Los Angeles. She's actually a graphic artist. She is an animator on a very popular show, and she 2 years ago was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And she has decided in this time of social distancing that she is going to create a comic to explore her own inner feelings. And so I posted the first 4 images from her comic today, and she talks about, her own experience with her bipolar disorder and realizing what that was and how important that was for her to be diagnosed and then be able to really feel that she felt seen by herself and by the person that she was talking to. I agree. Thank you, Trish, for saying that. I know that finding a therapist is very difficult. It can be something that can be, something that you have to go through a few different times. I always say that finding a therapist is like dating. You need to, go through a few different therapists before you can probably find someone who clicks with you. I would also recommend when you go and actually find a therapist, a lot of therapists will have, one website will have a bunch of different therapists on them, and they often have very specific, focuses under each therapist. So it'll say that, one person who is specializes in family therapy, or someone who specializes in trauma response and trauma recovery, or someone who specializes in, divorce or, something like that. So I strongly recommend that you go and, do some research on these different therapists, and understand that while the therapist needs to make you feel comfortable, it is a relationship that you should be, building for a very long time. So feel free to ask the therapist questions. This is not just a one-way, communicative conversation. You need to make sure that you are comfortable with that therapist. Don't just feel like you are sitting there and absorbing it. It's definitely needs to be a dialogue. So Marissa says, what tips do I have for someone interested in beginning independent art therapy? So Marissa, I'm not an art therapist. My mom's actually an art teacher and an artist, which is sort of what also got me into the importance of art. Marissa, I would strongly recommend, there's a lot of really amazing organizations out there. If you just Google art therapy and art therapists, there's the Art Therapy Association. And so that's definitely a good place to start. I have reached out to them before and they have been very communicative and responded. So I would definitely ask them for, how you can get into that. But I also would recommend, and this is for everyone, to really understand that, first of all, art is completely subjective. That is one thing that I love about art. I would love everyone to just completely let go of what they think art is, because art can be anything. It can be, like Liz Tate says, journaling. Journaling is a form of art. It can be cutting out magazines, like cutting out clippings of magazine. Like for example, right now, I brought a couple of things that I have been doing lately. And I have been lately just like taking magazines that I've been having like ripped like around my house. And if I see a picture that makes me happy, I'm ripping it out and I'm just like going with this. This looks delicious. And I am taking things like this and I am putting it in one place. And I am now making a collage of those things. For me, that's art. It makes me happy. Going and singing in the shower, that is a form of art. Art is sort of letting go, as I said, of any, you know, ideas around, you know, like letting go of censoring of yourself. So anytime that you're able to express yourself, express your feelings, with and without judgment. Like, here's the thing. We are all human and we all are judgmental of ourselves. That is something that I am working on. I'm sure that is something that you are all working on. I think that there are very few people on this planet who have no judgment of themselves. The important thing is acknowledging that judgment, understanding that that judgment is not helpful. You just note it, you acknowledge it, and then you say, thank you for acknowledging that, and now I'm gonna let that go. I appreciate you sharing that with myself, but I'm just letting that go. And so I find that art is a very beautiful way to sort of sidestep that judgment and be like, you know what? I'm just gonna make some stick figures today because I don't actually feel like, you know, really getting into drawing. I'm just gonna start doodling. I'm gonna draw circles. That's a form of art. It really is just about embracing your senses and getting into your feelings and just acknowledging that. So yeah, thank you, Tisha. So I would love to also, this will also help you, Marissa. So just so you guys know, the art therapy actually started in the 1940s. So there was no real idea of what art therapy was until the 1940s. Of course, I would argue that art therapy has been going on for a very long time because I think that all artists who have ever been drawing, who ever have any sort of art that they've put out into this world, I think that that is a form of art therapy. William Shakespeare, writing all those plays and all those sonnets, I think that was his form of art therapy. You know, Picasso, he definitely had some feelings if you look at his art. So that definitely is also a form of art therapy. I think that you know, the specific art therapy as we see it now obviously has very specific guidelines. It has very, it is you know, something that you get a degree for. And I, you know, strongly recommend anyone who wants to go into it. I think it's a very, very helpful and worthwhile profession to go into. But I would encourage anyone who's watching here to go ahead and start doing some things yourself to unlock your creative side. You know, while we're all quarantined, or a lot of us are here in Los Angeles, here in California, we are still in lockdown. So it's just me and my dog. That's it. I'm here by myself with my dog. And I think that it is very important to, you know, access those sides of ourselves right now. You know, it's very poignant, I think, that right now we're all locked down, you know, in May, in Mental Health Month, because we all are struggling. And, you know, right now, there is, you know, reasons why isolation and why being, you know, in this social isolation is difficult for people. I would like to, you know, share one thing that really, really helped me when I was creating this organization is the science is the facts. And for me, that was, like I said, listening to Zachary Levi's story, which made me feel like I wasn't so alone. It made me feel like his story was something that I could connect with, which was very important to me. But also I started researching the psychology behind mental health, the psychology behind being alone, and why we're such collaborative and social creatures. And, that goes back to caveman days. In caveman days, if you were not part of a community, you were literally dead because that community was very important to protect you. Like the whole, it takes a village in order to raise a child. The same was true for anyone. In order to survive, we had to be surrounded by, other people who would, feed us, protect us. And that, that is still in our DNA. I think that we sometimes forget how rooted we are to everyone in the world, but also how rooted we are to our past, and how rooted we are to, the things that our ancestors, go through. Like that is very much, a part of us. Oh, interesting. So Tisha says, as crazy as it sounds, a therapist had her do this years ago, go to a country and let her feelings out to a cow. Yeah, honestly, I mean, here's the thing. How many people in social isolation right now are talking to their pets? I am. My dog is very tired of me and my endless monologues. I have never talked to my dog so much before. He's on the floor right here. That's why I keep pointing down. I think that it's very, very important to acknowledge that we are social creatures. On the flip side, if you are someone who are feeling like this social isolation is peachy keen for you, you are like, this is perfect. I think that is also very, very important to acknowledge that right now, this is your normal. I have some friends who have said that they feel like this level of anxiety that the world is at is they finally feel seen. They finally feel like the entire world has reached their level of anxiety, and they feel like pressure has left them because of that. And I think that's also very, very valuable. So just acknowledge where you are right now and acknowledge that's perfectly healthy. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, exactly. So animals are definitely very, very helpful in therapy sessions. And I think that is, if you have an animal, great. That's wonderful. When we're, back into, not social distancing, not in social isolation, and if you've ever tried, working with an animal before, or if you have not ever tried that, I strongly recommend it. I adopted my dog about 2 years ago when I was going through all of this, and he has literally been my lifesaver. In fact, going back to my mental health art show, there we go, that I am holding over on my Instagram, on More Than You See's Instagram. I'm actually painting a picture of my dog right now as my contribution to the art show, because he literally, I feel in a lot of ways, has saved my life. And so that's, definitely very important. Thank you, the mighty. Yeah, so right there is the website. If you go onto the website, you'll see that I have a lot of different things. So number one, I have these stories that I've shared on the Instagram where people are explaining their own feelings and how they have, gone through different, difficult times in their lives. But I also really built this organization to be a non-traditional resource toolkit. So while we do have organizations on there, we have the mighty, it's always been on my website. We have the National Suicide Helpline. We have links to different therapists and, a lot of, different organizations like that. But we also have a lot of non-traditional resources on there, because for me, I found that I was in therapy last year when I was going through this, and that wasn't helping me the way that I needed it to. And it's still the same therapist that I'm seeing now. So she's a wonderful person, and it is very helpful. But for me right then, it wasn't what was helping me. for me, it was that podcast, and it was listening to his story. So I have, put together a bunch of different other non-traditional resources, like videos, like TED Talks, like articles, books, other podcasts. Anytime someone submits a story, I ask if they have something that has helped them through. And it could just be the thing that helps them get out of bed in the morning. That one small thing. This is a toolbox and a bunch of resources to help catalyze you from a feeling of despair to just feeling a little bit better. That's really, my focus is to just, build something so that you can build your own mental health toolbox. Because again, I'm not a therapist. All I am is someone who cares and who wants to, help others. And so that's what More Than You See is. And again, over on our Instagram, on More Than You See's Instagram, I am hosting a digital art show. We have art from all around the world that has been submitted, and it is all to do with mental health. If you have an art piece that you would like to submit, message me, because we always have space to share different art. So Deb, it is actually not a podcast. It is an Instagram account and a website, and we have a Facebook page as well. So More Than You See is the name of the organization. So yeah, I would love to, talk a little bit about, what you guys can do in your own homes again, to really, dive into your art right now. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. So there's the Instagram for More Than You See in the comments right there. So I would strongly recommend, number one, that everyone let go of your idea of what art is. I said this before, but I'm going to say it again. Anything that you create could be a form of art. I mean, you create mac and cheese tonight, and it is a level of perfection that you have never had before. Why not? That is a form of art. I think that if you look at what modern art is now, it really, like, a lot of the rules of art have been completely let go. And art is really whatever is an expression of you and your feeling and what you're going through right now. So if you decided that you really wanted mac and cheese, I had mac and cheese last night for dinner. It was amazing. If you want mac and cheese and you are feeling that and then you decide to make it, why not? That can be a form of art. If you are journaling, like someone recommended before, that is definitely a form of art. Something that a lot of people have gotten into lately are these different, books, these different coloring books. This has a lot of bad words, but basically this one is, is about why you're really, really awesome. It's just a coloring book. I've got other coloring books. I love these coloring books. I just keep them around my house and I color them. That is a form of art. I think that it's really important to, let go of your own judgments on yourself and your own feelings about what art is. So really just go around your house and see what you have that could be made into art. It's the same as, if you've got a recipe that you're throwing out, you have that one too. I know, it's great. I love these coloring books. If you have an iPad, if you have the resources of an iPad, the iPad has amazing, apps and stuff for coloring now. And even that is very helpful. There's something very soothing about, just honing in on something, just like puzzles, same sort of thing. So Charisse, I think that's how you say your name. I apologize if that is not correct. Charisse, I strongly recommend that you actually go onto the Instagram. As I said before, we have someone today who ended up, she's an artist. She's a graphic artist for a very popular TV show, an animated show. And she has used this quarantine time to build a comic book about her being diagnosed with bipolar. And she is, every Monday, I'm going to be releasing 4 or 5 different images from her comic book. And we released the first 4 today. And they're really, they're really special. They really touch me. I actually grew up with a bipolar sister and stepsister, and it's definitely a very, difficult thing. But it is just like, anything that we go through, there is, ways through it. And I think that the most important thing is to focus on, the relationship to yourself, your relationship to others, and how you can get through it with, grace and in order to support yourself and others. Let's see. Does anyone have any questions? How's everyone doing in this quarantine right now? Does anyone have any questions for myself? Oh, there we go. That's a great idea, Tisha. So Tisha says that she started to write motivational quotes on the top of papers at the hospital. So Tisha must work at a hospital. That's really, really wonderful. Again, I'm just going to leave you guys with this. I think that it's very, very important to, remember that art is, it is whatever you want it to be. It is in whatever form you want it to be. And art can build a community. It can build a community through More Than You See. There is, really incredible artists on there, and it's a very, I'm not, like, there's no art critics on here. It's just whatever is your form of art, that is what is out there. We also have, yeah, of course. We also, thanks Tisha for joining us. We also have, some short films on there. We've got some poetry that's coming up there. We've got some short stories that are coming up there. Anything, art is very, very subjective. It's whatever is, your internal feelings shared with the world, if that's something that you're comfortable with. But it doesn't have to be shared with the world. That's what's so wonderful about art. You can create it 100% for yourself. It does not have to be for anyone else. It can just be completely for yourself. I have done a lot of art in time that I have never, ever, shared with anyone. It's just for me. And that's, that's great. So I think that it's important to acknowledge the fact that whatever you create, whatever you put out into the world, it is valid, it is important, it is special, because it is an expression of you. And you are special. You are someone who has value, or someone who deserves to be seen and to be heard. And I think that art is a really beautiful way to, dive into that. So that's really, really important. Yeah, Nicole here has said that art has helped her a lot with coping with PTSD. Thank you for sharing that, Nicole. She makes jewelry, journaling, and she writes poetry. Nicole, if you would like to submit something to our More Than You See art show, please reach out to me. We would love to share it if that's something that you're comfortable with. I think that, again, art is so important, and it really helps you, connect with others. Building a community in that way, it could just be one other person. I think that the most important thing when it comes to mental health and in general is to let go of the stigmas that we have. Both the stigmas that we have about our own experiences, the stigmas that we have about other people's experiences, and just really let go any feelings any judgments that you have about, what a community is, what art is. I think that that's something that's really, damaging in our society, is that we have, very strict boxes that we want everyone to fit into. And that's just not living. That's just not life. That's just not something that, helps support others. So I think that it's very important to remember that you are valid, you are important in whatever form you are. you are you, and you are living another day, and that's really, really, really important to acknowledge and something to be very grateful for. I think that right now it is, very difficult to for a lot of us to cope right now. To be perfectly honest, the first week of quarantine, it was really hard for me. And actually, that is why I created the art show. If you guys are just joining me, again, I'm an actor and a producer here in Los Angeles, California, and I also have this mental health organization called More Than You See, and I'm running a digital art show for Mental Health Month, which is May. And the reason that I started it was pretty much the same reason that I started the organization a year ago, which is ironic that it's like pretty much right at a 1 year. So a year ago, I decided to create More Than You See because I was in a really dark place, and building this community, building this organization gave me purpose again. It gave me something that I could build and really focus on. And then, when we were first locked down in quarantine, I started quarantining March 15th. And during that time, that first week was really hard for me. Again, I live by myself, just me and my dog. And I'm definitely also Tish. Wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for joining us. So I'm also an empath. It was really hard for me to watch our world change around us in such a dramatic way. And once again, I felt like there wasn't purpose for me to get out of bed. I was like, why am I getting out of bed? There's no reason. The world is completely changing. I don't have anywhere to go. That was really hard for me. And from that, a couple weeks ago, I was like, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to create this art show because once again, there's other people out there who are feeling the same way that I was. And that's why I created this art show. It's something I'm going to be running every year now. Yeah, Laura, you and I are the same. Both quarantining March 15th with our dogs. Yeah, so it's really this is why I created this art show, so that everyone can, have one united place where we can share art, we can share our internal selves, and we can really focus on that aspect of quarantining. Like, let's create something cool while we're all, quarantined together. And so that's what we're doing over on the More Than You See Instagram page. Every day I'm posting a different form of art. And again, art can be anything that you want. I would love to have anyone who wants to submit. And I'm just going to leave you with this. So just remember that community is very, very important. Whether that community is, just your dog and your friends on Zoom, whether that community is the people that you are currently living with, any of that sort of stuff, like that is community, and it is always important to touch base with your community. But right now, it's even more important. Something that the Mighty posted in the comments before was a check-in system. They have a very valuable resource to allow people to check in with their friends. There we go. So it's definitely a very important thing now and always. It's important to check in with your friends, but you also must remember to check in with yourself, because you are your own responsibility. You are your own responsibility, number one. Before you are concerned about everyone else, you need to be concerned about yourself, because that is the most important thing. Just like the airlines always say, you put your own mask on first before you assist others. So it's very important to put your own mask on first. Again, thanks so much for joining me, guys. I'll just remind you that art can be anything. A community can be anything. It really is whatever you want to create, whatever brings you happiness, whatever allows you to, explore your inner feelings, your inner self. That is what art is, and whatever you create is valid. It's just all about embracing all of your senses, not only what you are seeing, but also what you are hearing, smelling, feeling. All of that is art, and all of that is valid. So I would highly encourage you to walk around your house, see if there's something that sparks some joy, just like Marie Kondo, and go ahead and see if you could like turn that one thing into an art piece in whatever sense that means for you. And make sure to remember to check in on your community. If you want a community, obviously the Mighty is a very, very valuable organization. They do such incredible things here. Nicole, where do you make the submission? Go ahead and if you just go to the Instagram, instagram.com/more_than_UC and direct message me, I will definitely get back to you. And also be sure to go ahead and check out our website. Our website definitely has lots of different resources, lots of different, art that has already been on there, as well as, a lot of different non-traditional resources that have helped other members of the community, like TED Talks, like other videos, podcasts, books, and those resources I'm constantly adding to. And that's something that I'm building more and more. So definitely check out those resources. And if there's something that really resonates with you and you want to share it with the community, again, reach out to me. I would love to share your story and share your resources with us, because together that's how we get through this stuff is together. And I mean that truly. I'm here for you. The Mighty is here for you. We're all here to get to the other side of this, and to also acknowledge that we are always dealing with things. That's what More Than You See is about. That's what the Mighty is about. Mental Health Month is May, but mental health is every day. It's important to focus on yourself, to check in with yourself every day, and make sure that you are feeling grounded, that you're feeling grateful, and that you matter, because you do. So thanks again, everyone, for joining me. I really appreciate it. Go ahead and make some art with something in your house, and go ahead and check in with me if you would like to join us over on More Than You See. And I hope everyone has a lovely day. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.